Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary to share another contemplation with you. And this week, what I'm going to share with you is there is only one substratum, one source, one consciousness. If not now, when? If not you, who? So, this is really about life as a human being and the fulfillment that you're here for. And the most fulfilling and the most amazing discovery that anyone can make from my own experience is yourself. Because when life becomes stressful, when you feel empty, unfulfilled, when we realize that all the things we've done in our life to achieve something that we may not even know the name for, and we're lacking something, we're empty, and we want to fill ourselves with something that's joyful and rewarding, ultimately, not just temporarily. So when we reach that point in our life, and eventually we all do, then it just makes sense to start questioning who we are and what life is. We go back to the beginning to try to figure out how we got to the experience of ourselves in our life as it is unfulfilling, as it is unrewarding, as it seems to just keep getting worse and worse. And our life, as we age, of course, appears to be coming to an end, and we start to think, what is it all about? So in the beginning, as we take a human form, we must remember from a holistic perspective that we begin where we end. We begin as the truth of who we are, the ultimate truth, which is consciousness, or whatever name you want to give to it. And then when it's time for us to take a form and to live a human life, the energy that we are contracts and continues to contract until we're able to create and sustain a human form. And in this process, the communication between our true self and our human experience is short-circuited. So we enter the world not knowing anything, and then we begin the enculturation process. And in this process, we know nothing. We're just children, and we're growing up, and we believe everything we're told because our parents talk to us, then our teachers, then our peers, and so forth. And if we're in a religious community, we get that. We get all kinds of beliefs. And as we accumulate this kind of information on the one hand, and still suffer from the lack of communication between our true self and our human role, we begin to see that there are conflicts in what we're saying, what we're being taught. One person believes this, one person believes that. We thought they were both truthful and real. We accepted what they said at one point in our life, and yet, as we grow and become more aware of the human experience and the panorama of beliefs that we're surrounded with and confronted by from the people in our world, then life starts to get pretty weird, and sometimes it just doesn't make any sense at all, and we wonder why. What's causing all the conflict? What's causing all the suffering? Where is it really coming from, and who am I in this? And it's at that point, usually, at least in my case, that we have some form of breakthrough, an awakening experience, because we asked for it for the first time in our life. We didn't maybe ask for it literally, but we brought ourselves to the point of wanting an answer to what's it all about in some form or another. And at that point, usually, if it's strong enough and your intent is strong enough, then you'll get an answer in the form of a breakthrough experience where the ego is transcended, and an experience of you as consciousness, you as very subtle but very powerful energy happens. And when this happens, and you have a moment of absolute fulfillment, and then you return to the human form, afterwards, you're alive with that energy. I'm referencing my own experience, of course, here. And you get the energy and you get the thing, but now you're back in a human form, but now your world has changed. Everything has changed because you had some insight into the truth of who you are, even though you may not realize that that's what's happened. You're just so full of blissful energy and joy and gratitude for life, which is something that you never could create from an ego, from your mind. Because the disconnect, the reason why you couldn't come into a human form with that awareness is because of the contractive process that you went through to get into a form, to become a form. Now, what we call, from my teaching here, we call this the creation game, where consciousness pretends to be what it is not in order to experience what it is. And it's in this process that it goes from being lost, being unaware of itself as itself, to becoming, recreating the awareness and the experience of who it and what it truly is. So life goes through this process for everyone. Everyone's different. Everyone's here for their own unique experience in the human realm of experience. And we all have different ways of coming to the realization, if we're ready for that realization, to be who we truly are, to manifest that awakening experience and then to cultivate it so that it becomes a constant as we are still living a human life. And this is what there is only one, if not now, when, if not you, who. This is a contemplation that points to our situation. There is only one, that's the truth. If not now, when? The now moment, that eternal moment that's always happening, where we are actually experiencing our life. It's not yesterday, it's not tomorrow, it's not some other time, it's now, because now is a moment that is the source of life happening again and again and again through all the individuated forms of itself. So if not you, who is saying, hey, you are the same consciousness that created the planets, the universe, all and everything, so when are you going to rejoin the truth of who you are and become aware? It's a process that is beyond the mind. It cannot be comprehended. The connections that exist between all and everything cannot be comprehended by a mind. It was not created for that purpose. The ego is not created for that purpose. It's created for the I am not experience. So we have all this happening, and then we're made aware, or we, to some degree, and we pursue that, and we try to cultivate that until it's a constant and the only way that I know of, the only way that has worked for me is through the art and science of meditation with a truthful teaching and the guidance of a truthful teacher. And when you're ready for that experience, that's what usually shows up in your life, because consciousness is celebrating itself through all the diversity that it has created. So in some way or another, we become aware, we grow that awareness with more experiences as a human being. And in this sense, we become conscious of a holistic perspective of life and of ourselves, we understand that we are multidimensional. We understand that there's aspects to ourself and our experience that can be tapped into through meditation, through creating balance. And then we develop a lifestyle around that that supports that by maintaining good health, by maintaining wakefulness, by taking on the intention of mastering our life and then living that lifestyle. So there is only one consciousness, one source, one substratum from that everything has come up from, and that includes us, that includes you. So we're all in it together, and we all are the same consciousness, and we all are individuated expressions of that consciousness. And there's no expression that is not valid, because it's all being created by the one consciousness that is everything. So this is why we generate a connection as we go. We activate our pineal gland, we activate our heart center, and we develop a state of balance so that the mind is now focused on in such a way that it can communicate with the heart center. And back and forth it communicates. We become more loving, more accepting. We start to see everything in our world as us. There is no difference. Behind the form, it's all one. And then we celebrate the forms. We celebrate the diversity of consciousness. And we experience the unity that exists within the diversity. And in this, we experience fulfillment. And the point of being here in the first place is finally realized. And we can go from there and express ourselves and try to share that with the world and help other people in some way to generate that experience for themselves as well. So that's the point of this contemplation. There is only one, if not now, the ever-present now moment that is real. And if not you, who? Because consciousness is all there is. So it must be you too, huh? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. This was a contemplation I recall very well. It was challenging at the time I got it, but it helped me a great deal to move myself further into the experience of myself as consciousness. So with that, I'll leave you until next Monday morning, and then I'll bring another contemplation to share with you. Thank you.